me tell you, I actually have some respect for Anna Kasparian. Even though she's a lib, the title of the video is Democrats Are So Cooked. And we're going to see why they're so cooked. Coming from a perspective of a liberal, which I'm curious to hear. Because a lot of liberals have just turned their brains off and they don't want to hear why they've been failing. They just want to cry and foam at the mouth and be like, racism, bigotry, misogyny. So I think Anna Kasparian is coming at this at an angle of of common sense, actually having a brain, sitting back and saying, you know what, there's a problem in the Democratic Party and we got to figure that out. So let's watch.
Last week, we covered that pretty embarrassing story involving the Democrats deciding to invest $20 million to figure out why the party lost so much support among men in America, especially young men. So,
yeah.
The Speaking with American Men, or SAM project, is actually starting to release some of its findings. They have some initial findings, believe it or not. So they got right to work.
Wow, it's really not that hard. The fact that they have to research this and so like, guys, we got to do research. Why do young men hate liberals? Why do young men not like the Democratic Party? It's really easy. You've been preaching to them for the last several years that being masculine is bad. Toxic masculinity. If you enjoy manly things, therefore you're a misogynist. You hate women. You hate gay people. You want to dominate women. If you assort any sort of masculinity as a man.
And their findings happen to be, in my opinion, some of the most obvious things in the world, which really highlights the significance of how out of touch Democrats are with ordinary people, normal people. And
yes, they're incredibly out of touch. Look, let me tell you an example of how out of touch Democrats are. So during the 2024 election campaign, okay, excuse me, this is one of the ads that really shocked everybody. This is one of the ads that really stuck with everybody. And there was the ad of Donald Trump saying that he was for you and Kamala was for they them. Trump was for the American person and Kamala was for they them, especially when the whole Kamala, saying that prison inmates should have access to sex changes. That ad right there, just Trump nailed it right on the head of how out of touch the Democratic Party is. Trump is for you, Kamala's for they them, and that stuck with people. That showed how out of touch they are. People are tired of this freaking transgender movement crap. It's weird. And they call conservatives weird, but I'm like, no, they're the weird ones.
This is the party. This used to be the party of the working class. This used to be the party of FDR.
Yeah, now no more. Not no more FDR. It used to be the party of the Kennedys, and now freaking RFK is now working for the Trump administration.
Can't figure out men, which is amazing. So let's get to the
details.
Hard.
It's really not hard.
So Sam promises investment to study the syntax. That's it. At that point, you already know they're going to fail.
But when they start using all this terminology and trying to be all extra about how are we failing against young men, it's not difficult. Again, it's not hard. They're treating this like it's rocket science. It's not freaking rocket science, bro.
I'll continue with what this is all about. Language and confront that and content that gains attention and virality in these spaces. It recommends buying advertisements and video games, among other things. Above all, we must shift from a moralizing tone, it urges, which is like maybe above all, we must shift from a moralizing tone, it urges, which is among other things. These spaces.
It recommends buying advertisements and video games. Here's the problem. Me as a gamer, and this is why the gamers have a lot of gamers have had this anti-woke movement push, is because they've actually started preaching to young men in video games. This is part of a reason why young men don't like liberals. You even put your freaking ideology, you start preaching to them in their video games. They just want to play a freaking video game.
Buying advertisements and video games, among other things. Above all, we must shift from a moralizing tone, it urges, which is like maybe the only thing I've read about this project that I agree with. I think the moralizing tone turns a lot of people off. And so if you're the party of scolding.
Yeah, when you just keep preaching, you're exactly what she's saying about to say is scolding, where you're just saying Well, if you do this, you're a misogynist. If you go to the gym and you work out and you eat healthy, it's because you like body shaming. You hate fat people because you do that. Like what? Like you think anybody's gonna vote for you when you treat them that way? When you're like their mom that's consistently scolding and nag. Nobody likes a nagger. It's the thing. Nobody likes a freaking nagger. And the Democrats are the party of naggers. Nag, 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 nag. Nobody wants to be around a freaking nagger, bro.
You're going to drive people away from your party. I think that's
Yep.
just common sense. I don't think you need to spend $20 million to figure that
No,
out.
it's not hard.
Now, let's break down
Just-
just
you
how
got a
bad
brain,
the
bro.
Democrats'
Respect.
problem really is, because in last year's presidential election, the gender gap leapt to 13 percentage points nationally.
There has been an incredible gender gap that's been happening. We've seen that a lot of men, especially young men my age. I'm 26. This is like people have said this is the most conservative young men have been in decades. And meanwhile, women are going more to the left. They're pushing further and further to the left. So we have this kind of this stretch that's happening. It's this polarization.
Up from 9 percentage points in 2020. Men's support for Kamala Harris dropped by 6 points, winning just 42% of men, the lowest on record in recent elections. Now, Sam's national survey found that just 27% of young men viewed the Democratic Party positively, while
Yikes, only 27% view the Democratic Party as positively. I mean, it's not hard when they're completely being preached to about how horrible they are, how sexist they are the whole time. Their toxic masculinity is bad. You just see women as objects. Not saying now some men do see women as objects. Some men are nasty. Some men do. There is toxic masculinity, like guys like Andrew Tate. Obviously, guys like Andrew Tate are horrible. I'll flat out say it. He definitely is that men need to dominate women. No. Men and women are created to be together in a marriage and submit to each other. I mean, as a Christian, that's how I see it. So there are some bad apples, but I mean, yes, this is why the men hate the Democratic Party. They're tired of freaking being told what to do.
43% of them,
especially by Karens,
viewed the Republican Party favorably. That gap became even more pronounced among 18 and 29-year-olds.
That's my age group right there. Look at that.
Look, people get really mad when I say this, but you either want to know what went wrong or you don't. And if you don't want to know, like if you want to live in like magical thinking land and everything.
That's where most liberals live right now. They live in magical thinking land. They don't want to know the facts. They really don't want to know the facts. They just want to, they want their feelings to be the truth.
Is great, and Democrats aren't making any mistake. Okay, stop listening right now.
Yep.
Okay, but for those of you who want the truth, Democrats can't stop telling men how much they hate them. That's a problem.
Bingo.
Okay, not every man is carrying out toxic masculinity.
Nope.
They're not acting as though, not all of them certainly, are acting as though, they're entitled to sex with any woman they want. Like,
yeah, not every man is doing
stereotypes that lump all men together and make them.
And yet they say that they hate stereotypes. The stereotypes are racist. They're bad. But yet they put all these stereotypes on men, on straight men specifically. If you're not gay or if you don't date a transgender woman, therefore you're homophobic. You're transphobic. I'm like, no, they're just straight. A man that dates a transgender man is gay. That's just the honest truth. They don't roll that way.
Them out to be bad guys is not healthy, it's not right, and it's not good politics, obviously.
No, it's not.
So I'm not surprised that men are like, yeah, Democratic Party, I don't know if I like them, because the Democratic Party keeps signaling that they don't like men. That's the issue.
Mm-hmm.
So, and by the way, let me just put it in the context.
I think what we've come to see is that really the Democratic Party has become the party of Karens, the party of educated or quote unquote educated white women. Believe it or not, as much as liberals say that white people are bad, white privilege, but yet the Democratic Party has become the party of white women, crazy white women.
Of women. Obviously, I'm a woman. And I love femininity. I love it. I'm like, I wish I was
And they want to push femininity on men, and men just don't like that. Men don't roll that. Some men don't roll that way.
able
They
to
want to
be
live. They want to live, and they want to, amplify or exercise their masculinity because they're a man. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with liking manly things. Like, for example, I watch the UFC. I'm not like super into UFC. My brother-in-law is super into UFC, but a lot of men love the UFC. People are like, oh my gosh, UFC events. Oh, look at all those misogynists that are watching two men have a dogfight. Like, oh my god, that's why they see the UFC as right wing because it's toxic masculinity, even though there's women that
be
fight in it. Flip, sorry.
more feminine in my life, but I work in a very masculine field of work, obviously. And I just feel like I have a lot of male energy around me at all times, which is fine. I don't have a problem with that. But there aren't a lot of opportunities for me to feel as feminine as I want to feel. If the Democratic Party suddenly started talking about how toxic I am because of how much I identify with femininity. In fact, I have a specific example. I remember there was like this super rad lib student that I went to grad school with. His name was Bruce, and he was a good guy.
You probably
Okay,
watch
he
this,
meant
Hassan.
well. But I remember one time I had to go to class after work at TYT and I was wearing heels. And he started chiding me for wearing heels. He's like, you've been brainwashed by the patriarchy. You don't like that. You don't like wearing heels. And I'm like,
Oh my god. They just I feel like they just talk just to talk. They say the dumbest freaking things, bro. Like, what are you saying? Like, you're wearing heels because the patriarchy makes you. No, she just likes heels, bro. Shut the hell up. Oh my god. They just like to talk, bro. They like to nag. They like to create controversy out of anything. They're looking to be offended by something. They're looking to fight for something, for whatever it is. Oh my god, the sky is blue. No, it's not. No, it's not.
damn right I like wearing heels. Who the hell are you to tell me I don't like wearing
Yeah,
heels?
you toxic, masculine piece of crap. How dare you tell a woman why they're wearing heels?
It was just incredibly insulting. So I just, anytime I think about the messaging coming from the Democratic Party and whether or not it's going to be effective, if they're focused on a specific demographic or group of people, I try to turn around and think about how it would make me feel to be the target of that same message.
Good, good. I'm glad. This is why I have respect for somebody like Anna Kasparian. I actually have respect, even though she's a liberal and she's on Young Turks, and we know, Young Turks are kind of unhinged sometimes, but she's got a brain. She's actually stopping, looking at the bigger picture and saying, okay, there's something wrong here. We are doing it wrong. And I'm glad she's doing that because most of her party is just unhinged. They're, again, it's about my feelings. That's what they run on. They run on feelings, not facts. And you're going to keep losing if you do that.
Messaging. Okay, so just think about that. Now, it is worth noting that 5% more conservatives than liberals responded to that survey. So the survey result, again, had more conservatives included. So the results might be a little skewed. But now let's talk about how men feel about the Democratic Party. So Sam's first round of research consisted of 30 focus groups and a national media consumption survey. They found that many young men believe that neither party has our back. True, true. Okay.
I can
As
see that.
one black man from Georgia said in a focus group, participants described the Democratic Party as overly scripted and cautious, while Republicans are seen as confident and unafraid to offend.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that statement. The Democratic Party is always overly scripted and cautious. I mean, so scripted to the point that freaking Kamala Harris is switching accents depending where she's at. She's around a bunch of black people. She tries to sound black, and then she's around a bunch of white people. She tries to sound country. Um, Overly scripted and cautious. They're always walking on eggshells, always trying to be politically correct. And Republicans, I mean, yeah, they're not afraid to offend. They're just going to say the truth and don't care, which I like. I think the majority of men actually don't like that. They like the fact that Democrats are not afraid to offend. They're just going to tell you the truth straight up. It's how it is. You don't like it, get over it. I mean, look at who the president is. Trump literally has created that movement in politics of being unafraid to offend.
Now, in an era of people always talking about their sensitivities and always talking about how offended they are, it gives rise to a counterculture where you seek out people who don't give a damn about offending others. So I think that's definitely part of this.
That definitely appeals to me. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't care to defend. Like it's the truth. Like if you don't like it, like that's literally the term. Truth hurts. It's such a true statement. Truth hurts.
Now, Elise Hogue, who's the co-founder of SAM, stated, Democrats are seen as weak, whereas Republicans are seen as strong.
Well, yeah, when you try to freaking uh push all this femininity and make men sissies, men who are not sissies are not they're not gonna want to vote for you. When you want to push all this femininity, like find your inner to get in touch with your feminine self. Like what? Like I don't know if you've noticed this, but in the transgender movement, why is it that in the transgender movement it's mostly men trying to be women? Have you noticed that? Like there is like women trying to be men, but most of the time it's men trying to be women. That's one thing that's interesting to me. I've never understood that.
Young
Well,
men
actually, I do understand it because the Democrats have tried to sissify males.
also spoke of being invisible to the Democratic coalition. And so you've got
Yeah, invisible. If you're not gay or transgender, you're therefore invisible because you're toxic. You're because you have toxic masculinity inside of you.
this weak problem. And then you've got this, I don't think they care about me problem. And I think the combination is kind of a killer. Elise, this is why they pay you the big bucks, girl. You get it. You get it. Now, in the focus groups, the young men stated that they felt stressed. I mean, I can totally relate to that as a woman, but certainly in a culture where traditionally speaking, men have been thought of as like the breadwinners or whatever, I can understand in this economic situation that we're all dealing with, there's a lot of stress. They feel ashamed and confused about how to be a man. Maybe
Yeah, because you've preached for them for years that anything manly that they do is toxic. If they watch the UFC, they're misogynists. If they're straight, they're homophobic and they're transphobic because they don't want to date a man or they don't want to date a trans woman, quote unquote. They're homophobic and transphobic because of that. They're racist. If they go to church, if they're Christians, they're white supremacists. Like all this stuff. If they play video games made by a certain company, therefore they're racists and they're misogynists. Like, have I made my point yet? It's not hard. They're trying to spend millions of dollars into this research, and it's really not that hard. Look, I'm doing this research, and I'm not spending any money. I'm telling you how to win young men for free, not spending a penny at all.
because they keep getting like slapped around when they just want to be themselves, right?
Mhm.
So they vented about conflicting cultural messages of masculinity that put them in a no-win situation around the meaning of a man, according to the SAM Project memo. Okay. So other issues included feeling isolated after the COVID lockdowns, which makes sense. By the way, the COVID lockdowns, I mean, we're still obviously experiencing the downsides of that and the repercussions,
Yeah,
the
we figured that all that was retarded. Yeah, because it was retarded.
consequences of that. You know, so many community groups and ways in which people would connect with one another in person basically got shut down and they never came back. And so everyone needs a sense of community, right? I remember when my mom wasn't in the hospital and I was able to go to dance class. Going to those dance classes and seeing the same people all the time and feeling closer to them with each passing class that I took made me feel a sense of community. It made me happier. And when those things are kind of taken away from you because of forced lockdowns or whatever other reason, yeah, it's going to cause feelings of loneliness. It's going to cause other issues. Obviously, for a lot of young men who might have had just graduated college and they're entering the job market for the first time, it's a terrible situation to find yourself in
It is.
when you graduate and there is no job market because there's nationwide shutdowns of business.
Well, yeah, that too, and then the fact that people like Charlie Kirk, which he says college is a scam. I agree with that about 80%. I would say 70 to 80%. I agree with that statement because obviously, if you're gonna go be a doctor and you're gonna do surgery on people, yeah, you need to go to college so make sure you don't kill somebody. Okay, if you're going to be a teacher, teach young children, or teach anybody, you should go to school for that. Obviously, that's also a place that's kind of become a strong place for indoctrination. Unfortunately, if you're going to go be a lawyer, I think the same thing. You got to go to school. But when you have all these people getting the degrees in lesbian dance theory, then yeah, I can see why college is a complete scam. College is not a place to educate people. It's to brainwash people and indoctrinate them. So that's why I agree with about 75 to 80% that college is a scam. And as well as that, like sometimes you graduate with a degree and then these freaking jobs, well, you need 5 years of experience. Well, it's like I don't have 5 years of experience. I have no experience. I just got my degree.
This is so. And they're also upset about how they're unable to afford traditional economic milestones like buying a house or paying for their kids' college.
Yeah, that's another thing because the economy has been so trash over the last couple of years. Again, Trump has only been in office for about 6 months. He's not going to fix everything overnight. But this is why a lot of young men, and not just young men, but Gen Z has been kind of pushing back against boomers because they're like, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Stop crying about the stock market crashing. My pensions, my pensions. Well, we don't care because the economy's broken for us anyways.
And that is one of the most understandable things in the world because the whole point of growing older, doing the work, going to school, working hard, whatever, is you're working towards something. You have something to look forward to. And I think at this point, not just
And
men.
let me tell you what they're looking forward to. Let me tell you what goes on in a young man's brain, what they're working towards. They want to go to college and get a degree, or go to trade school, or maybe they might just go straight into the workforce out of high school, where they're blue collar workers. They want to get a good paying job. They want to find a good looking woman. They want to marry that woman, and they want to have kids with that woman, and they want to take care of that woman. And even that lifestyle, wanting to obtain that lifestyle, is seen as misogynist. Like liberals look down on that. Like that's looked down upon by liberals. I'm like, what? A man wanting to take care of a woman, love her, have kids with her, love his children, create a family, provide for them, take care of them. And even for women that desire that lifestyle, women that want to find a man to take care of her and be it maybe a stay-at-home mom and raise their kids and help raise their family. That's all. Liberals look down on women that want that. I've seen comments of like women who cook for their husbands, or like me cooking for my husband so he can take lunch to work. And women comment on there like, why are you cooking for your husband? Because that's her husband. She's taking care of her. She's like, the least I could do is cook lunch for my husband since my husband is at work providing for us. Like what? That's what men and women were created to do by God, to multiply, to raise a family, to take care of each other, working together. Okay, it's not men dominating the women or women dominating the men. It's a communion together. It's you come together as one. That's how we were created to be.
Men, by the way, I think most Americans are feeling as though it doesn't even matter how hard I work, right? It just feels like those milestones that used to come, I wouldn't say easy because
No,
obviously you have to work
no,
hard to
you
get these
you
things,
have to
even
work.
historically. But there was a path to getting those things. Now it seems like there is no path, and that leads to a lot of frustration, a lot of anger. So when you have the Democrats in power and they're like nickel and diming, they're making a little like they're tweaking around the edges policy wise, but it doesn't really change the material.
I don't even agree. I disagree with that statement that they're slowly tweaking policies or here and there. They're not really tweaking policies. They're creating these radical, stupid policies, creating these cultural issues that nobody cares about. First of all, trying to, for example, transing kids. Why the hell are we worried about that when the economy is in shambles and we have World War III about to break out on the freaking other side of the world, which I don't know how Trump's going to handle that, but that's a different tangent. That's a topic for a different freaking stream or different video. I talked about it in my last stream. If you want to go back and listen to that, but yeah, men are just they can't seem to obtain a goal because of how the Democratic Party is running the how they ran the country, and that's why they've gotten so much pushback, and that's why they really went in droves and voted for Trump.
Material conditions American workers are experiencing, yeah, there's going to be backlash toward the Democratic Party, especially when someone like Donald Trump comes in, presents himself as someone who's going to save them, improve the economy, and create a situation in which, they're going to be golden. They're going to do really well. They're going to be able to buy that house. They're going to be able to invest money in the stock market. Now, obviously, Trump has
The stock market has recovered a lot after all the tariffs that happened a couple months ago. It's facts. The facts are there. Stock market recovered.
been losing some
Look it up. Do some Google search.
support, especially among independent voters and Latino voters who opted to support him because of his economic messaging. Because guess what? He hasn't delivered. It's just the truth. So now let's.
He's only been in office for 6 months. It takes time. Now, if 1 or 2 years things still haven't changed, then yes, I'll reconsider that statement. But things do not change. People are saying that he's losing support. I mean, when it comes to the freaking ICE raids, he's actually gaining even more support. The support's growing even higher.
Let's move on to some of the other findings here. John Della Volpe, another co-founder of SAM, and he's also a pollster who specializes in Gen Z, stated the degree to which those economic concerns are also impacting how they think about themselves and quote unquote success of being a man and living up to their own expectations or the expectations of their family or society. There's another layer of economic anxiety. This is my favorite part. That I don't think I fully saw until now. You're a pollster? What kind of polls were you doing?
I didn't realize the economic anxiety. Have you not seen the economy from like 2023 through 2024? How bad inflation was? How freaking lost? I mean, he's lost. He was not there. Joe Biden was not running the country. How bad the economy was in shambles, how high gas prices was, eggs. Nobody talks about the price of eggs anymore because they've gone down. Nobody talks about it anymore. The legacy media ain't gonna talk about it anymore because it's gone down, and that's not gonna help their narrative.
You didn't realize that there is widespread economic frustration among pretty much everyone, but certainly among young men.
Exactly.
I don't know if you're doing your job right, if you just.
They're not, because they're concerned about other dumb issues. They're concerned about cultural issues instead of the issues that people really care about. That's what it is. They're more concerned with preaching their ideology, preaching their values, and scolding young men of their values rather than bettering the country economically and border security and all that. That's what they were worried about. That's why they lost.
Realize that. But anyway, the men in the focus group also spoke about how politicians, especially Kamala Harris and Donald Trump, made them feel. So vibes matter. Okay. I think the last election.
I mean, vibes do matter, but here's the thing. I don't think the Republicans focus so much on the vibes. I feel like they did a little bit, but I feel like the Democratic Party really focused on the vibes. They're like, it's all about the vibes. It's all about the vibes, man. Kamala's got good vibes. I have good feelings about this. Again, just based off feelings, not facts. And that is why they lost.
Cycle was really a vibe-based election. And an Asian American professional described Democrats as embracing the fluid masculinity of being like empathetic and sensitive, while Republicans are more like the traditional masculinity of a provider, strong, and the machismo type.
Yeah, here's the thing. Masculinity of a provider, strong, and machismo type. There is a healthy dose of having those three. There's a very healthy dose. Again, what I talked about earlier, a lot of young men desire to get a good paying job, find a woman, marry her, take care of her, and raise a family. That's all what young men want to do right now. A lot of them just want to do just that. But they're nagged and scolded for wanting that lifestyle. So what do you expect? It's not hard. It's simple. It's really that simple.
I don't know if I would have used the word machismo. Anyway, but continuing. Another Latino man from Las Vegas said that during the 2024 campaign, Harris focused on, oh, I got Beyonce on stage with me. Oh, I got Lady Gaga on stage. And it just kind of felt like, what does that have to do with me? I'm trying to move up in life.
Exactly. Focusing on the things that don't freaking matter. Trying to get people's votes by having celebrities on stage. Ain't nobody care. What are you going to do for the economy? What are you gonna do? What's in it for me? That's what it's for. It's what's for the voter.
That is shocking, actually. It is shocking to me that men weren't seduced by the lyrical talent of Beyonce. How did that not work? It's weird. It's crazy. Look, overall, I'm happy that the
was she serious about that statement? I really hope she wasn't serious. I don't know why she's shocked. Like why are you shocked? Like Beyonce, Lady Gaga, they hate men. Like they also hate men. Like why? What? I hope she was being sarcastic.
Democratic Party at least wants to figure out
because I'm not shocked. It's not shocking.
But in the process of doing so, they're kind of showing us how out of touch they've been and how much work they have to do. You know, same guy says, Trump's over here like, if you're able to get a surplus in our budget, then we're going to have no tax on tips, no tax on overtime. It's going to take
Here's the thing. No tax on tips, no tax on overtime. Trump had that idea first, and then Kamala decided to copy it. That was pretty funny when she did that. But here's the thing. They voted on it. The Senate voted on the no tax on tips, no tax on overtime. 100 to nothing. 100 to nothing. Unanimous freaking vote. Why? Because it's a no-brainer. Who wouldn't want that? What American wouldn't want that? I'm glad that all these senators decided to use their brains and think for a second, like, wow, who wouldn't want that? It's a no freaking brainer.
While to get to that point, but at least he's saying the things that, oh, this is what I'm going to do, the Latino man added. Remember when you guys got mad at me when I kept mentioning how Trump repeating that he's going to do no tax on tips was like effective political messaging?
It is very
and
effective.
It's going to work.
Yeah.
It worked. Okay, it worked.
Here's the thing. She probably got cooked by her own people saying, I can't believe you're saying that. Again, because they're so stuck in that my team versus your team mentality. She's looking at it from the bigger picture. She's getting out of that my team versus your team mentality. She's looking at the facts. She's saying, yeah, he's playing this game right. He's playing the game right. He's using his cards effectively. Based, honestly, freaking based
because I'm trying to kiss Trump's ass. I say these things because my job is to do analysis.
Exactly. She's doing analysis based on facts, not feelings. Again, this is why I have respect for somebody like Ana Kasparian. We probably disagree on pretty much like a lot of stuff, but I appreciate that she's looking at the scope like, yeah, Democrats suck. Yeah, they're doing a horrible job.
And I see things pretty clearly. I mean, the last election cycle, I saw things real clearly, which is why election night, I wasn't panicking. I didn't freak out because I saw that iceberg coming.
Yeah.
The question is, why didn't the Democrats see that iceberg coming? And will they see it in the future? Who knows? We're going to have to wait and see.
Yeah. This is a really, really, really good video. And I'll go ahead and I will link it in my chats and stuff. There's, if you want to watch it uninterrupted. I'll go ahead and put this in my YouTube chat as well. Give me 1 second. Yeah. Oh, sorry. That was my own voice from the stream just now. Can I please put this in the chat, guys? Let me put it in the chat, please. There it is in the chat. If you guys would like to go back and watch it uninterrupted. Yeah. So, it's not shocking. Again, it's really not that hard to figure out. Like, they've just been preaching to them for the last several years, saying that they're misogynist, they're sexist, that they like anything manly. It's because they freaking hate women. And like I said, again, respect to Ana Kasparian. Respect to her. Seriously. Based is crap. A lot of stuff that she said in the video was freaking based. Like, she used her brain. She paused and said, you know what? I'm not going to look at this based on my feelings. I'm going to look at the facts. Trump had effective political messaging with the no tax on tips, no tax on overtime. The commercial where he said that Trump is for you and Kamala is for they, them. That was incredibly effective. And again, she wasn't panicked on election night. Why? Because she already knew that Trump had played his cards right, that he was going to win. And she's saying, she says that she doesn't understand how Democrats didn't see it. I mean, that's not shocking. It's really not shocking. Like, it's easy to to see why they didn't see that. It's because they're focused on the issues that don't matter. They're more focused on virtual signaling, creating culture war, and preaching to people who don't have the same values as them rather than focusing on the things that matter. Are they gonna wake up and see it? I don't know. Lately, with all like the ICE raids, the Tesla protests, I don't think they've woken up. I think they're still stuck in their freaking hive mind. They're still stuck in their my team versus your team mentality. Are they going to wake up and hopefully get in touch with America? I don't know, because if they keep propping people like AOC or Jasmine Crockett, please prop them up. I'm begging you, prop them up. If they're gonna put them at the forefront of their party, yeah, they're just gonna keep losing. That's just what's gonna happen.